Good morning, fellow Ambazonians.
I stand today for beg all the brothers and get
Today, na Sunday, number 13 day for the month of February 2022. My name na Capo Daniel, the Deputy Defense Chief of the Ambazonian Governing Council, aka Sense Pass King.
My dear sister, are we together?
Welcome to my daily podcast. The songs of unity rings in Ambazonia as Ground Zero unites to fight in collaboration. The Ambazonian Governing Council and the APLM of Ebenezer Akwanga have had a 2-day summit in Dublin, Ireland. The two organizations, the Ambazonian Governing Council and the APLM, are led by the two founders of Ambazonian Self-Defense, the SOCADEF, the oldest military wing that was created and born to fight against Cameroon occupation and liberate Ambazonia before the creation of any modern Ambazonian defense group or forces within our territory. To tap into the history of SOCADEF, let us hear from Pa Kadwan, one of the first generals who have worked with both Ebenezer Akwanga and Ayabacho Lucas on the ground in Ground Zero to launch activities to liberate Ambazonia far beyond our horizon, far beyond 2016.
So another thing where we feed the drag mob there. Person will know what will be the pass between SCYL and the SCNC. Now two different things them. The SCYL, Southern Cameroon's Youth League, their motto, it will be the force of argument and not the argument of force. In the SCYL, the motto will be the argument of force and not the force of argument. And then the SCNC, their motto, it will be the argument of force and not the force of the force of argument and not the argument of force. Now two words they will reverse themselves. So the administration they be there on for pen. And they why would they be talk say it be the argument of the force of argument and not the argument of force. But for the Southern Cameroon's Youth League, SOCADEF, by then, they are more to be the argument of force. Because now the military we. If today people they say they be the administration and then they want for take their own ideology them, join them for their own, maybe they work under them. Why Comrade Ebenezer Akwanga with Comrade Dr. Lucas Cho Ayaba, why they be deny what way SCNC be the try for bring up? Now the same thing where they repeat itself. And I no go stand.
The SOCADEF will be founded with founding members including Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga and Dr. Ayabacho Lucas, was founded in August 9, 2003. It was a military wing of the SCYL, the Youth League of Southern Cameroon. When the Youth League was created due to frustration of politics in the SCNC keep on insisting that the Youth League is a part of its organization. It is a youth wing in its organization, even though it was wrong. This manipulation on social media and on national television and in books and biography by the SCNC is not different from the politics we will see today, where the IG, the one claims say all forces them for ground belongs to ye or na own or they must fight under ye. The SOCADEF, it can also be left behind by one of his founders, Dr. Cho Ayaba, where he be elected as a member of the newly created Ambazonian Governing Council, which they also further create their own defense force called the Ambazonian Defense Forces. That was coming from the decades and era or learning from the Southern Cameroon Defense Forces. These two groups have been the pioneer to advocate for self-defense as a means of liberation, and seeing these two leaders leading their two organizations meeting in this 2-day conference give hope for effective collaboration, meaningful collaboration that can set the precedent for future collaboration and synchronization by all the other factions, so that Ambazonia can finally speak as one with one voice without being challenged. We will continue to bring more of this information to you as they be made available. In other news, Cameroon terrorism in Oba slowed down as yesterday the Cameroon military they enter inside quarter them for inside Babanki with military trucks them. They enter raid some one man house. There is no reason yet for that or any suspicion say that man will get anything to do with the fighting. That just a farmer they execute publicly, then they enter their truck, then go. The man then joined the long list of those who have been killed by Cameroon terrorism. Still on related issue of Cameroon terrorism, the Cameroon Fulani mercenaries that were assembled by Ngala Gerard and the likes where they operate for inside the Savannah state. After their operation, we target sister force to the ADF for inside Bafmen. The group either emerge this time they launch attack again for the village for inside Ngwa, where they repeatedly the target them, the burn them for soften them. It be noted for our people then say the vast majority of people for inside Ngwa they run, they either be IDP or they go for inside Nigeria, Biafra land for seek refuge. This time they attack two small villages for inside Ngwa, the village of Fam and the village of Sam. Then burn several houses. There is no report of any dead yet, but we will still monitor the situation. Some Ambazonian forces in those areas, led by General, they call him Black Snake, they intervene, and that is what actually stopped the carnage. We call on all of our people to remain vigilant and to report activities of Cameroon subjugation, activities of Cameroon terrorism throughout our national territory. We also encourage citizens to make tangible record of all these happenings and for make sure so they take picture for any Cameroon vehicle, military vehicle when it pass and their presence, so that this evidence they could be provided by the international community. For the most often, Cameroon it can be reputed as a country where it deny all things unless you prove them beyond reasonable doubt. And if we not gather this prove them, for the Cameroon the activity they could get away with all their crimes within Ambazonian territory. If you see something, say something. If you see something, you record it. It will help. It will go a long way to bring justice to our people who are going through this genocidal war being waged by the Cameroon government. This, ladies and gentlemen, it could bring we for the use of collective punishment when a war crime by the Cameroon state against our people, especially when it happen for urban area them in the face of everybody where if it be easily verifiable and the international community if it easily pick them up. I want to talk for our people them, me they understand. Say no mama for house or papa for house. You know if you come for house where one picking, he don't do some bad thing. He don't decide for who the other picking them, begin beat them. He chakara their thing them. He left the one way if he do the bad thing aside. Instead, if Pekin he do something, the parents go take the responsibility for discipline the Pekin, because ultimately discipline, correction and good example it come now from the parents. But this one not be the case with the Cameroon military. Every time our Ambazonian forces then we would fight a legitimate fight, will carry out attack against them, they come now for our civilian them, can burn their houses, kill our innocent civilians, punish them, destroy even the places where they don't put condemned day from Banda, their barns and their storehouses, for punish our entire population. This one it show say no be papa for house, no be mommy for house, but na stranger, na an army where they see all we like enemy. Because if one person it do some bad thing for you, you know say people them for that house they hate you. You no go allow your picking them, them play with their picking them. And any problem where that neighbor he get them with another neighbor, he go the see now all picking them for that house like an enemy. Now so the relationship between Ambazonia and La Republique ide. Now why that way their modus operandis, their way for their operation, it be collective in nature. And our people they need to understand this one and begin to see ourselves as all one, all for one, one for all. Me man, feel say this war, concern ye, because it concern you as a matter of your birth, as a matter of your kinsmen, as a matter of your nationality. Now, why that way when the Cameroon military, they come for can kill, they look na Amba boy, they look na Ambazonian. Any man who look like them, he smell like them, they go kill him. And that's so we're supposed to look ourselves, because in reality, that's so we are a people, a nation under threat, and we must understand this and recognize this. This one is be a message for all of our people where they live inside La Republic, for understand, say they will always see una like foreigners, because that is just who will be. For another issue, ladies and gentlemen, it could take we for the attack we happen for inside the boarding school for inside Atlantic State, for Queen of the Rosary College, we did for inside Mamfe. The attack will be carried out by Ambazonian Restoration Forces. That means that the Ambazonian fighter them, where they fight under IG. This one, it will be in a private, it will be in a mission school. Even though news it be they say this school be the plan for go march past with La Republique, their complicity them, there is no justification of burning down private schools. Would not always educate soldiers and would not make them a code of conduct, say make no man in no born school. The only school where they feed go burn them, na Cameroon government school, but make it not touch no student, make it not touch no teacher. Would the fight not be against education? Would the fight now for education for our people? Now either way, we wouldn't take the responsibility for open up a community school them. Right now, the Ambazonia Governing Council, they run over 15 community school will be opened by our own, and other school, the community school, we would encourage them, palace them open them, and would authorize private and mission school them, they operate as community school with certain standard we would give them. The president of the governing council, he then spelled out publicly the policy for education for Ambazonia. The main issue now say you get over 3 different IG group them. You get the IG group of Seseko Ayoktabi. You get the IWA be led by Milton Taka and Yerima. You also get the IG group of Sako Ikome, where they be run by Yi and some of the cronies. You also get the IG now under Chris Ano. All of these 3 group them then claim say that them be the commander-in-chief of the Ambazonian Restoration Forces. None of this group that appoints any particular general for be their overall commander, except Chris Ano, his own IG, where then get Field Marshal. So now a very big problem, because all the IG group, they never clearly state their policy for education. The lack of proper instruction as to deal with school issue, it then create a loophole where we see the result of burning down of schools in our own, and the potential targeting of students and teachers who teach in these areas or operate in community schools in area where their forces them be engaged. We don't handle a lot of these cases in the back door, but we need to bring up for public me and know. As for the group of Seseko Ayoktabi, them two they don't claim say they get na them be commander in control of those group, but they not get no defense minister, they not get no force on the ground where it answer their name. But we don't see say the force where it don't come up for accept for answer under them na Field Marshal 10 Kobo where it don't make audio for back them up, and it don't make some video them about with some weapon them for show and for them. It be very important for these leaders, for this Ambazonian government, for this Ambazonian faction them, for take responsibility. Me then no say forget defense forces or for claim forget defense forces is not a matter of politics. It requires a lot of work and responsibility. We no go to wait me this same soldier that they kill students, burn villages, and then the leaders they specialize now for begin choose which action where they do am good, and then they claim them. The one where they do am way bad, then distance themselves. For the most part, these soldiers are good people who simply wants to do work for their country, but they lack that leadership, they lack that command and control, because those people who are involved, they don't even want to be associated with the fighting. They will not even call the name of guns or bullets in their name, but they will be hiding behind these things just to gain political capital. We should have passed the stage where people are just looking for relevance and political capital, but take self-defense very, very seriously, because by the IG putting out a name which is like a generic name of conglomerate of forces that they have no control over, it creates a loophole where forces where they could even come from the Tanganjipo can also claim to be forces under the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, and nobody would know. Forces can carry out operations and carry out things like we have seen in Mamfe, and there will be no control over them. Udansi say even for the lockdown, the IG, it declared 2-day lockdown. The IG of Sako, it remained silent, but the IG of Yerima through Milton Taka announced 2 days. Chris Ano announced 2 days. But you get a general on the ground, General Sagat, it command, it denounce him, it talk say, make no lockdown in no day.
Fellow Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, today, na the 9th of February 2022, I come out with this voice or audio today now because of concerning the lockdown way be announced previously by the spokesman for AROF. We don't deliberate with the Major General Sagat and some of the general on the ground. We don't come to a conclusion, say lockdown in no day for Ambaland. We understand, say there is no 11 February in Ambaland. All the Ambazonians, they don't understand, say any.
So now the spokesperson that for the Ambazonia Restoration Forces under General Sagat. So he go come talk say be spokesperson, he give decision. The decision of lockdown not be just a military decision, now also a political decision where it's supposed to be made by the leadership of the IG. So we call on them for put their house in order and take responsibility. So who is speaking on behalf of the Ambazonia Restoration Forces? Phil Mashar go also come out. He go can talk, give instruction as the head of the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, but his loyalty is with his brother and his own IG faction. And then you also have Yerima Milton Taka will also come and give out his own instruction, saying that he is also giving instruction for his own lockdown under the Ambazonia Restoration Forces. Then now you have the newly acquired or the newly bribed general on the ground who will stand for them, and he's making audio also, General 10 Kobo.
Na me FM 10 Kobo alias talk and do. So small message I want pass for my civilian them. Oh, you get the big day where they for front 11 February. Lockdown is start on the 10th of February. 6 o'clock in the morning. It will be over on the 12th, 6 o'clock in the morning.
So this one not be for criticize, but now for point out loophole them and things that we will need for get clarity. So now here from one IG group, from 3 different IG group, you get 3 different instruction for our public, and then you get instruction from other restoration forces where you don't know who's their allegiance be. It is a loose conglomerate of forces with no command and control, and you cannot operate and military effectively in this manner. And you don't get now a communique released by Mr. Yerima. It promises he go disarm the forces, then way they go attack that school for instance Mamfe, they go disarm them. Now you go imagine, he don't go buy new force, 10 Kobo. They go the same 10 Kobo for instance Mamfe may go disarm the restoration forces where they go burn school for instance Mamfe. What will be the result to the struggle? We'll start another infighting. When the Yerima talk say Ibina, the commander-in-chief of Ambazonia Restoration Forces. Now which restoration forces then way the talk say he control them? Now the Sagat, now the one then for Mamfe, or not just the 10 Kobo just now. Because if you go disarm soldiers for Mamfe because they attack school, what about General 10 Kobo himself, his own attack against school? Which instruction have you given to him? Which instruction have you given to the public? This war no be a joke, no be a laughing matter. These leaders must take responsibility. If you want to be a leader, if you are assuming a position of a leader, It should not just be to gain credit, but it should be for you to do the hard job, to talk to the Ambazonian people clearly. What is your policy in education? What is your responsibility over the forces, over activities on the ground? So that when something happens, you can take responsibility. We can look up to you in those areas to bring order, so that the conduct of the forces will reflect the aspiration of our people and the expectation of our general public. Otherwise, this chaos will only give advantage to the enemy to inject itself, and also the chaos will also give advantage of gangs and unruly individuals who lack mentorship, who lack control and command to be able to function properly and protect public interests. But it will turn into cartels who will then be preying on our own people. We have seen this over and over again. So this is an appeal to the IG groups to take responsibility publicly for the groups that they own or the groups that they claim to own, and those that are not under their control should be known so that they can be engaged and seen properly. Otherwise, the activities of one will be seen as activities of all, and people will be confused what to make of things that happens on the ground, and there will be no hope for us to solve issues of excesses, or the international community to see our state as being capable of handling excesses by ourselves. And it will require that the attention we will draw from the international community may be a negative one, not the one that we would want, but it will be something that will be coming to fight excesses from within, because we cannot fight against. In all and all, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all the Ambazonian forces on behalf of the Ambazonia Governing Council for their activities across our territory for making an effective boycott of Cameroon use of 11 February. It was fantastic. I also want to thank General Isobu for coming out in Bui also, and all the other forces, the ADF forces and all the restoration forces, for doing their part as a national duty to stop Cameroon from tapping this day. It is a very tough thing. Even though we have differences, we must always acknowledge right thing. And for the sake of justice for those who have been killed wrongly, we will continue to push for justice, reconciliation, not hiding things, but we must appreciate people each time they do things that are patriotic, that moves the country forward. We will continue to speak truth to power and hold all leaders accountable for their words and action. God bless you all. Capo Daniel, signing off.
Soldiers